Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. I'm Abby, and alongside my co-host Ashley, we are on a mission to make J.R.R. Tolkien's epic and sometimes intimidatingly complex literary works fun and accessible to everyone, whether you are a seasoned scholar or just curious to explore Middle-earth.
This season, we are diving into the unfinished tales. If you've already journeyed through these pages, virtual high five, but stick around. We'll uncover some hidden gems and geek out over the lore and legends that make up this tale.
Or if you haven't read this tale before like me, but maybe you've read the Tolkien classics like the Lord of the Rings trilogy or The Hobbit, and you're just curious about these other stories, then settle in. Our cozy corner is a perfect spot to explore these lesser known tales with zero intimidation and a ton of fun.
So, fellow travelers, let's embark on this literary adventure together through Tolkien's unfinished tales. Let's go!
Let's go! Oh, how's it going? I know. Whew, it's been a week.
It's been a week.
It's been a week.
It did start being June as of like yesterday. So like doors open, fans on.
Woo!
So fun stuff happening.
That's exciting.
Has it hit Oregon yet?
Yes.
Nice.
It was beautiful for both the birthdays we had this week, which I was...
Happy birthday to Oakley and happy birthday to Mama Heidi.
Yes, say... Oakley, can you say thank you? Wait, Oakley, can you say thank you?
No.
Say thank you? No. Oh.
He partied too hard for his birthday.
I know.
It's his party and he'll cry if he wants to.
He's a little 3-year-old right now. My baby. My baby. I know. It was a great little birthday. He got to do all his favorite things. Like he had a pancake as big as his head.
Nice.
And for breakfast, and he got to watch Nacho Libre, which is his favorite movie.
I love
that. And my favorite was we played a family game of catch with like a big giant beach ball. So it was like me and my husband and my 2 older ones and him and then grandma. And we were all standing in a circle and he was standing in the middle of the yard and we would just like pass the ball to him. And he was like, "This is the best day of my life. Everyone that I love.
Does it get better than this?
Playing with me." Oh my gosh.
All the attention is on me.
I know. I was like, what a perfect little 3-year-old birthday party is like. Let's just play catch in the backyard with you. And he's like,
no,
this is the best day of my life. I was like, oh, so cute. But we were like, I was saying something to him. I was like, my favorite thing he does is, or all my kids did it. I'll be like, happy birthday. And he goes, happy birthday, Oakley. And he goes, happy birthday, Mom. Like they always say it back to me, which I'm like the cutest, which I'm like, yeah, you know what? It was a birthday for me this day. So you're right, Oakley. It was.
You're the one that did all the work.
I know. But I don't know why he said it. I was like, you really? You're going to rip out my mom heart right now and just stop on it and like all this stuff? But I said, happy birthday, Oakley, like in the morning or something like that. And he goes, I'm big now. And I'm like, well... Okay. I know.
Even like, my little auntie heart just went.
I know. I was like, well,
I'm so sorry for that tragic loss that you just had.
Cool. I know. I was like, oh man.
They grew up so fast.
I know. But
mamas of little ones, enjoy it while it lasts. I know I hated hearing that when I was there, but just enjoy it, okay?
I know. He's such a happy
not talking
guy.
Back to you. That was my mistake.
Ooh, we're getting into I call it they smell like teen spirit. That's my phase right now because We're getting into that preteen. So they smell like Teen Spirit. That's like my code word when they're acting fun. Is I'm like, okay. But yeah, it was a great week. We had my mom's birthday on Wednesday and then Oakley's birthday on Thursday. So we partied. We partied this week.
Nice.
It was cute. My mom let my kids kind of decide what to do for her birthday, and because she was kind of feeling a little like, oh, I'm getting older, like kind of situation. And so Luna's like, how about this? How about you wear your favorite color and we all have to wear your favorite color and you can be happy because there's just your favorite colors everywhere. I'm like, okay. And so I know, we all wore yellow, and so we deemed it her sunshine birthday. And so yeah, so we all wore yellow, and I made her like lemon pasta, and then I made her a key lime cheesecake, and I've never made a cheesecake before. It was pretty good. It was so good. Like, actually, I have to tell you, so I hurt my foot. I fell in a pothole. I fell off a curb into a pothole. It was pretty bad. So I'm in a cast kind of situation on crutches right now. And my husband is in a cast on his arm that's like wrist to past the elbow cast kind of situation. You guys were in a car
accident or something.
I know. I'm like matching couple outfits. So we look pretty sad and pretty pathetic looking, me and my husband. Like, and so it happened the day before my mom's birthday, and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to make her dinner, I'm supposed to make her this cheesecake and like all this stuff. I'm like, oh no. And my sweet fox, my 10-year-old, was like, I can do it. And I was like, okay, I'll just tell you what to do while I sit at the couch and I'll tell you what to do in the kitchen. And he listened to me and he did everything, and he made a cheesecake, and it was amazing.
Because it was made with love and teamwork and everything like My Little Pony would sing about. Sorry, Lizzie's on a My Little Pony thing right now.
It was just very funny because I was like, it was like one of those like cooking shows where like they can't look at a recipe and they have to just be told how to do it. And like he was pretty stoked about trying it that way. He was not looking at any recipe. And I just had to like dictate from the couch of like how to do it. And I had never made a cheesecake before, so I was just like reading the recipe.
You just fold in the cheese. You just fold it.
And it turned out it was so good. It was very good.
That is amazing. Good job, Fox.
I know. He's been so sweet. Like he's been making dinner for me and like when I'm, stuck, I'm like, oh, my foot really hurts. And he's like, oh, it's okay. I'll make dinner. I mean, it's like pasta, like Alfredo pasta or like grilled cheese. But I'm like, hey, you know what? It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's better.
One thing I will say, like, I'll brag for you about your children is that your children have the biggest hearts. Like, they're just so thoughtful and just so good job, Mama.
Oh, thank you. I have to say, I do love how helpful they are. Speaking of not good families,
we're actually going to be
strong families.
Oh, well, yeah, because those are all in the Tolkien's tales.
Happy families that stay together. The parents don't ditch their kids. No one dies. Everyone's happy. Brothers and sisters love each other in a normal way.
My segue was going to be, speaking of sensitive kids, we're going to learn about a sensitive kid today. But first, let's review last week's episode. Do you remember who Dear Havel was? Dear Havel?
Wasn't he the guy that was like writing genealogy or something? Like,
yeah.
I remember him because I'm
Yeah,
like,
sorry.
what the heck name is Dear Havel? Dear Havel. Maybe that's how you say it. But I was like,
The Audible guy always throws me.
you don't hear a lot of, I don't know. There isn't a lot of names that sound like that in the rest of the
Yeah.
books. So he
Yeah.
kind of sticks out a little bit.
I agree.
Kind of like how I feel Tom Bombadil sticks out because I'm like, that's just Tom. Like,
Yeah.
that's just that guy Tom over there. It's like, oh, no one else has just a common name like in these books.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that adds up with Tom. And I do have a theory about that he is actually one of the doctors. That's why he is so special.
Tom, like doctors, like
Doctor Who. He is a doctor.
What, he's a doctor?
Doctor.
Oh my, he's a Time Lord? Oh my gosh.
Yes, you're welcome for that side quest. So Dear Havel, or however we say his name, was a man who was of the House of Hodor and decided, you know what, I want to learn about all these cool ancestors I have, and I'm going to gather them all up in stories that I'm going to get from all these refugees here at Refugees R Us, aka the Havens of Sirion. And then
we got your sad refugees. We've got your elf refugees. You've got your human refugees.
Wait, were you running away from dwarves? No, you're in a different section. You're
over there.
You're running away from Balrogs. Oh, okay. Right this way, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a silver elf.
Here's the burn unit.
Here's a burn unit. Oh man, I would love to know how they would classify the traumas. Oh, you have PTSD from a war, from war. Okay, this way. Oh, you lost all of your family in a massacre from the Sons of Fëanor. All the Sons of Fëanor people, this way, this way. Oh man, that is quite a line. Okay.
You lost your hand as well.
Do a group
Go
exercise?
over to this group.
Oh yeah.
There's like and they wave to him with their hands, with their arms that don't have hands. And no one can shake hands because they've lost all the same hand, and so no one can shake hands with each other. Oh.
Nub it.
Yeah. Hey, elbow. Hey.
Sorry. That's funny. So after poor dear Havel dies during the raid of the Sons of Fëanor, but his story lives on through this tale. And this tale starts shortly after the Battle of Sudden Flame in the First Age, around 455. Remember, the Battle of Sudden Flame resulted in the breaking of the siege outside Angband that the Eldar had been trying to man for centuries. It scattered the Sons of Fëanor across Beleriand, and Morgoth's forces just were unleashed and are set to roam all of northern Beleriand.
Basically,
which unfortunately most
the dam broke
with fire.
Yes.
And it is also where High King Fingolfin, R.I.P., challenged Morgoth to a duel and managed to injure him, but sadly also died in the process. We did kind of go over the history of men just a tiny little bit. Just that there's 3 different houses. Do you remember what they are? Maybe.
Okay, so it's not Bayor?
It's not Bear. Bayor, good job.
Hodor?
Uh-huh. And then our girl.
It's another H, right?
Yep. You got this.
It's not.
I believe in you.
Halin? No. Halith.
Yes. Nicely done, Abby. I'm so proud of you.
I did it.
Which sometimes is called the Men of Brethel, but we are against that because we like Halith and she freaking deserves it. So,
Yeah.
but just so you know, sometimes it is referenced as the men of Brethel. We also were kind of reintroduced to the brothers Hurin and Hur, the sons of Hador, with distinct characteristics. Sorry, they weren't the sons of Hador; they were grandsons of Hador. They were definitely of the line of Hador, but Hurin was a bit on the shorter side. He inherited that from his mother, who was of the house of Lalaith. And Hur was just like a giant. He just was really, really tall. Tallest man ever until his son would be born, which he would never meet his son.
And he'd go to his grave thinking, I was the tallest man.
Yeah.
And then he never knew that his son beat him.
Mm-hmm. So Hurin and Hur. Oh, go ahead.
Is Hurin the guy that was captured by Morgoth? No.
Yes.
Who was the one that was captured? Yes, he was. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Of sadness. The depression chair.
We're actually gonna hear a bit more about that. Probably maybe next week. We'll see. Not today. But they have a bit more of the conversation between. Yeah. So yay for the unfinished tales. But before that all happened, so back to Hurin and Hur. They fought alongside each other. Were able to glimpse Gondolin for a hot minute, and then returned home. Hurin became Lord of Dorloman after his father was killed in a battle. Immediately married Morwen of the House of Beor, and then welcomed their son shortly after, Turin. And, you know, things were starting to look up. You know, the signs of Baron and Luthien's successes and victories were being talked about throughout Beleriand, and Maedhros was gathering up some armies and was winning some battles. And then, of course, any dash of hope is just immediately snuffed out as Morgoth's forces somehow create what is later called the Evil Breath, which we kind of left you off at last week. So, yeah. Any questions?
Do you think that Evil Breath has anything to do with any, like, I know he doesn't like to say that it's related to anything with the war, but I feel like it had to do with, like, some parts of it was, like, reminiscent of chemical warfare of the war.
100%.
Okay.
Like, I think he was in a bit of denial about that. Like, it's gonna come out. Like, you write what you know, you write what you've seen, and I really do feel like, there's glimpses of it here and there. He was
was just pulling from life experience, kind of like when people have, like, traumatic experiences and they kind of suppress things. And then they like, it comes out in different ways, but they kind of deny that that's the reason why it's doing it, because they've suppressed it. And they're like, what are you talking about? I've always done this thing, or, you know, I made this up. And it's like, oh, actually, because, like, who thinks of a fog or like a smoke or something that would, like, wipe out people like that isn't, you know, chemical warfare of experienced chemical warfare. Which, does he say he's seen that before, or like he was in that situation? Does he ever say that happened? Because, like, I feel like if you were in that situation, not a lot of people made it out.
Well, I mean, for sure, gas was used a lot in World War One. Not to the the best ability, because sometimes they didn't think about things like wind. You would try and use it on your enemies, and then just a gust of wind be like, oh no, it's on our people. Dang it. There's no way he did not see it. I will just say that.
Okay. Anyway.
So yeah.
Moving on.
Anyways, moving on. No, but I do often think, and I actually have a moment today. I'm like, he must have gotten this story or this idea from something in his time in war. Like, I just keep going back to that. So just kind of, I like to keep that in the back of my mind when I'm reading some of these stories. So now that we have learned about,
Makes it a little bit more sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they had Turin. They had a baby.
Turin. They had a baby. So we learned last week about Hurin and Morwen as people. Now let's learn more about them as parents. You think they're going to be good parents, bad parents? They're going to be great. It's all going to be sunshine and rainbows.
Okay.
So as we talked about last week, they had Turin within the first year of their marriage. And Turin, just in case you don't remember from the Silmarillion episodes, means he who desires mastery, which is an interesting name. 2 years later, they had a daughter named Urwen. So kind of like Morwen, Urwen. Urwen. Which means fire maiden.
Cool.
Yeah. But despite this awesome sounding name, no one actually called her that. Instead, she got a nickname pretty early in her life. Quote, her hair was like the yellow lilies in the grass as she ran in the fields, and her laughter was like the sound of the merry stream that came singing out of the hills past the walls of her father's house. Nen Lalaith it was named, and after it all the people of the household called the child Lalaith, and their hearts were glad while she was among them.
Oh, that's so cute. You know he has to be like made that part for his daughter or something who probably looked like that. Cute.
So Lalaith, in fact, means laughter. Turin, on the other hand, was a little different. Quote, he was dark-haired as his mother and promised to be like her in mood also, for he was not merry and spoke little, though he learned to speak early and ever seemed older than his years. Slow to forget injustice or mockery, but the fire of his father was also in him, and he could be sudden and fierce. Yet he was quick to pity, and the hurts or sadness of living things might move him to tears. And he was like his father in this also.
Oh. Oh.
So, like, obviously laughter is not going to be his nickname. But if you were to give Turin a nickname, what would it be? Like, obviously, it could be like a flowery, like elvish word later, but like how Lalaith just, symbolized one word, laughter, which I feel is very apt for her. What was like one word you would use to describe Turin?
Misunderstood. No, I don't know, like moody or...
So I like thought of sensitive.
Oh, okay. Cute.
And
you know what? It says that he's not like those creepy kids, serial killer kids that are like, don't feel anything. And they're like, I'm not, and they're like quiet and scary. But he like just kept to himself, and he was just like, had emotions, and he was probably, kind, like a kind person. Like he wasn't ever like a bully or like things like that, but he wasn't like your golden retriever best friend. Oh my gosh, no. The sister's the golden retriever, he's the black cat. That's how it goes. He's the black cat of the family. Yes. She's the golden retriever.
Yeah. And that actually fits perfectly in with this next quote. Quote, Turin was loved less than she.
Oh, no. Well, of course he's going to be a little moody if that's how they treated him. That's so sad.
But
Emo
what's
kids need love
interesting
too.
But what's interesting is that Turin doesn't seem to resent Lalaith for that. Like, you could go in the, like, jealous, like, how come she gets all the attention? And, but he actually loved his little sister. Quote, all
Seems
the
like
warmth
everybody
of his
did.
heart, right? How could you not? Quote, all the warmth of his heart was for Lalaith, his sister. But he played with her seldom, and he liked better to guard her unseen, and to watch her going upon grass or under tree, as she sang such songs as the children of the Edine made long ago, when the tongue of the elves was still fresh upon their lips.
Oh, she seems cute. And he seems like a good big brother.
Mm-hmm. So, Turin, the loving and protective older brother, with his parents, though, quote, he loved his mother, for her speech to him was forthright and plain. But his father he saw little, for Hurin was often long away from home with the host of Fingon. And when he returned, his quick speech, full of strange words and jests and half-meanings, bewildered Turin and made him uneasy.
Was his dad crazy?
No, like, so in my head, remember last week when I said that Hurin was just, like, in with the Noldor the most out of any of the Edine? So it sounds like maybe he knew how to talk like an elf in my head. So, like, when he starts talking to his children, he's still talking like he would to an elf. And elves have kind of a fancier way of talking. And, to a kid, you can't talk like Shakespeare to a child. They'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But his mom would be like very straightforward and would talk to him like a child, in a way that a child would understand, at least. So here's an example of something Turin heard his father say to his mother. So just as an example of, like, this speech that maybe was difficult for her, Turin, to understand. So he's Hurin saying this to Morwen. Quote, fair as an elf child is Lalaith, but briefer, alas, and so fairer, maybe, or dearer. So, like, you're a kid who hears this.
Yeah. And you're like,
It's not. What did you just say? Yeah.
It was,
and
it's like when like college students go abroad for, like, in, like, England or Europe, and they come back with an accent, and you're like American students who come back with an accent because they're like, I was in Europe for like a month. Like that's just who I am now.
Yeah.
So it's my it's my accent. But
also,
I think if it was like
in that same
the
thread,
words,
go ahead.
Like, yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
confusing to a child. Like, if I started talking like that to Oakley, he'd be like, oh. Like, Mom, are you okay? Are you having a stroke?
But also, like, I mean, Turin doesn't leave his home, and Hurin is traveling and going abroad and seeing things that, Turin has never seen. Turin's never seen an elf child, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, we never got to see an elf child. So even in that, he's just like, what does an elf child look like? How is Lalaith like an elf child? And what do you mean briefer? And what do you mean dearer? Like, he just doesn't know.
In my brain, elf children.
Sadly,
In my brain, elf children come out with hair like baby Rapunzel. Like, it's already long and it's already super beautiful. That's how it is in my brain.
Oh my gosh, imagine giving birth to that. Anyways, it's still coming.
Oh gosh.
So unfortunately, Turin is going to find out what his father meant by dearer. So fast forward 3 years. Turin is now 5, and Lalaith is now 3. And this is kind of, we're picking up where we left off last week. when Morgoth hit the north with this evil breath. Quote, "It was pestilent, and many sickened and died. They were for the most part the children or the rising youth in the houses of men."
Oh no.
Okay. Abby, hold on to your mama heart. Okay, just hang in there. Hang in there. Brace yourselves. Quote, "Turin took sick and lay long in a fever and dark dream. And when he was healed, for such was his fate and the strength of life that was in him, he asked for Lalaith. But his nurse answered, 'Speak no more of Lalaith, but of your sister Erwin, you must ask tidings of your mother.' So Turin goes to his mother, Morwen, and asks, where's my sister Erwin, and why can't I call her Lalaith?" So earlier you got an example of Hurin and how he kind of talks a bit more flowery and a bit more grandiose than maybe a child would understand. But we talked about Morwen being more straightforward. So here's an example of Morwen. So she's telling this to her 5-year-old son. Quote, "Because Erwin is dead, and laughter is stilled in this house. But you live, son of Morwen, and so does the enemy who has done this to us."
To a 5-year-old? That's so sad. Oh my gosh. The and laughter is stilled in this house. Oh, that is straight to the heart. That's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Morwen isn't very like lovey-dovey, comforting.
Right.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. But what's interesting is, this does sum up Morwen, I feel, pretty well. You get a good vibe from her with this situation. She's very stern, straight to the point, but I wouldn't say she's like necessarily unfeeling. Like you feel the vengeance that she wants. Like it's not like she didn't care about her daughter. So
it's because she cared.
On the other hand, she didn't mince her right, exactly. But Morwen didn't mince her words or even try to comfort Turin. She just told it to him straight. So that's kind of, I feel like, a very good example of Morwen's character right there. Like exactly like you said. It's not that she's not unfeeling. It's because she cares that I don't know how to explain it.
It's too much. She cared too much, and so she turned it off. Like she has the ability to turn it off. Of like, nope, it hurts too much. I'm just gonna not feel anything.
And that's actually how she handled the death of her daughter. It says, quote, "in silence and coldness of heart." So she just and let's just turn the temperature down in there. Yep, can't feel a thing now.
Oh.
Hurin, on the other hand, was a completely different story. He, quote, "mourned openly, and he took up his harp and would make a song of lamentation, but he could not. And he broke his harp, and going out, he lifted up his hand towards the north, crying, 'Mar of Middle Earth, would that I might see thy face to..." Oh my gosh. See, I can't even say how he talks. "Marer of Middle Earth, would that I might see thee face to face and mar thee as my lord Fingolfin did."
So he's mad. He's mad.
He's mad and he wants revenge. But he also is like, I want to put this hurts so bad. I need to put it into music. But it's too much for music. Like, he even broke his harp.
Oh no.
That's when you know it's bad. So, it talks about Turin being a kind of combination between Hurin and Morwen. So, how do you think Turin handled it?
Well, it said that he was emotional. Like, he showed his emotions and he cries and, he's not a stoic, push everything to the side man. Like, no, men don't cry. Like,
right.
That's for the weak. He felt, and he loved his sister.
Yeah. And that's, you put it basically how it went. Quote, Turin wept bitterly at night alone, though to Morwen he never again spoke the name of his sister.
Oh, so sad.
So, just to remind you, Turin was 5 years old and Lalaith was only 3.
Oh, don't even. Oakley just turned 3.
Sorry.
Don't even.
Sorry.
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
geez.
moving on. So now with his sister gone, his father gone most of the time, and his mother there, but probably not there. It would seem that he had no one to turn to. You know, it's not like there was a buddy next door that he could hang out with. But there actually kind of was. And here's where we meet someone that didn't exist in Turin's story in the Silmarillion. Hooray.
His buddy sidekick?
Unfinished tales. Kind of. Not the sidekick that you would ever have imagined for him, but I kind of love it. Quote, "To one friend only he turned at that time, and to him spoke of his sorrow and the emptiness of the house. This friend was named Sador, a houseman in the service of Hurin. He was lame and of small account. He had been a woodman, and by ill luck or the mishandling of his axe, he had hewn his right foot, and the footless leg had shrunken. And Turin called him Labadal, which is hop-a-foot, though the name did not displease Sador, for it was given in pity and not in scorn."
Oh my goodness.
Not who you saw coming, huh?
No. Oh.
Okay. But, Abby, I need to know that our minds are forever entwined. So a dark misfit kind of boy befriends an older guy with a bad foot and has a limp who works in some kind of a workshop. Please tell me you thought of who I thought of.
Hold on. Give me a genre. Give me like a it's
animated.
Like okay.
Not Disney.
Oh no. For some reason I can only think of like Treasure Planet, where he befriends the captain guy who also doesn't have a foot. Oh no. Who am I thinking of?
Come on. It's like one of my favorite non-Disney franchises. I don't know how to explain it. I love it. It's got a Viking-esque thing to it too, which makes it. Yes.
How to Train Your Dragon. Yes.
It's like
Gobber. Gobber? Is his name?
Yes. Gobber. Yeah, and Hiccup.
Okay.
So I picture that for the rest of the time. I just picture them too. Those two.
That's cute though, because it's like he he is helpful to him, but he also knows like he's okay. That's pretty cute.
Right? See? Okay. So I just had them in my head the whole time. So Sador, aka Labadal, would help make minor repairs or build things needed for the house, because remember, Turin is of the house of Hodor. He's like the chief or the Lord's son. So he has like probably maybe a nicer house than everyone else. But because of his bad foot, Turin would try to make his job easier, by fetching him things so he wouldn't have to move around so much. And being the innocent kid that he was and the big heart that he had, he would even try to steal stuff here and there and like give it to Sador because he wanted to help him. It's like, hey, I found this and I thought you'd like it. But Sador would always have him return it, and he would say, quote, "Give with a free hand, but give only your own."
I like that. That's a good quote. That's a good one.
Sador's got lots of gems. Just I wish
he's a wise old hop-a-foot.
Yes, he is. So Sador would, in exchange of Turin being his friend and helping him out all the time, he would carve little figures of men or of animals for Turin. But what Turin loved most was to hear Sador's stories, because Sador was actually a soldier before he injured his foot. And he himself even loved telling the stories because he got to kind of relive those glory days of his youth. And fortunately or unfortunately, he had just missed the Battle of Sudden Flame. Like by the time he was, called up to battle, it was pretty much over. But he was there in time to bring back the body of Hurin's grandfather, Hodor. And later, in a kind of after-battle skirmish, he saw the death of Hurin's father and witnessed Hurin take up the lordship, even though, as we talked about, Hurin was barely a man at that point. He had just come into his manhood. And he had even followed Hurin in that first battle and described him as, quote, "There was a fire in him that made the sword hot in his hand."
Whoa. That's a cool quote as well.
Yeah. Right? Lots of fire analogies with Hurin, which is what I find interesting. But after that battle, Sador was done fighting. He said, quote, "My love of battle was sated, for I had seen spilled blood and wounds enough, and I got leave to come back to the woods that I yearned for. And there I got my hurt, for a man that flies from his fear may find that he has only taken a shortcut to meet it."
Oh, okay.
So many gems! Sador, where have you been? So this is one of those moments where I was thinking back on Tolkien's mindset when he was writing this story. Maybe there was someone he knew from the war that, tried to, either get home or kind of made an excuse to get out of the war and then ended up suffering the consequences.
I think he met a lot of amputees. I mean, he probably had a lot of friends that are like amputees and hurt from wars and things like that. And they had to live their lives in a very different way and had to deal with what they had. And he probably had a lot of I feel like when you go through traumatic things like that, I haven't. I mean, I've gone through some crappy things in my life, but it definitely, you kind of change a little bit. So I feel like the friends that he had has changed, and maybe that gave him inspiration for this character of I did what I need to have done to, help my people and stuff, but I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I did what I need to do. And
so one thing about Sador that I'm not sure if I'm doing him justice, that I just feel like I need to explain here is, so the thing with Sador is that he didn't get injured in the battle. He got home and then he got injured. So there is this kind of not stigma, but shame about his injury, because it wasn't a battle injury. There would have been more honor, there would have been more understanding if it had been in the battle. So
it was just a silly whoopsie.
Yes. So not only is he lame, for using Tolkien's word there, but it's also in an undignified and unrespected way.
Oh, sad.
So the people of, the town, or however you want to say it, didn't really respect him.
Oh, what?
He's almost, and it's not said you'll kind of get more of a vibe of it later, but it's almost like they think he's a coward. It's almost it's that kind of a cloud to it.
I will not stand for this.
So
I will not stand for this Sador slander.
So Turin,
no.
So Turin befriending him is even more heartwarming, if that makes any sense. He's just a guy,
outcast. Yeah.
Yes, that is going to say. Yeah, he's kind of an outcast.
One of my favorite quote, not a favorite, but a quote that I heard recently that kind of goes with how he talked about he doesn't want to be in battle anymore and he's done. It's actually from the second Jurassic Park movie, if randomly, but there's a guy who is a hunter, and he at the end of the movie kind of renounces that. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't like this anymore. And he says, and I'm like, wow, this isn't a Jurassic Park movie, but or like the quote is so like out of the placement of the type of movie it was. He goes, they're like, where are you going?
Right.
And he's like, I'm going home. I've been far too long in the company of death. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a deep quote. I was like, okay. So that's what it reminds me of, is when people like that are like done with battles. And
but what's
but
weird
that's so sad
is
that
like
they were mad. They were mean to him. He fought for their country.
I don't want to say mean, but there's just this kind of like lack of respect. There's not a
I will
didn't
not
get like a Purple Heart, you know. But I bet you that there were guys like that in his life, in Tolkien's life, that got injured, but not from the war. And so their injuries weren't as honored, weren't as respected. You know what I'm saying?
I will not stand for this slander of my sweet, sweet boy, Sodor. No.
Lavadal. Another interesting thing is that later in life, Turin, you know, if you think about his later life, he's just constantly looking for a father figure because his own dad was absent so much. It's so sad because so he's kind of looking up to this Sodor guy. And then later, if you think of his life, Thingol kind of adopts him. And then, of course, Beleg. Yeah. And Sodor really does become his first father figure. And as Turin gets older, Sodor becomes the only one he can ask these tough questions to. And Sodor, as much as he loves Turin, it's hard for him because he's like, shouldn't you be asking someone else this? I don't know, maybe like your parents or
does he not have a family? Does he not have a family? Yeah.
I don't. There's no mention of a family.
Oh.
Yeah. But
so did you talk to your dad about this? I feel like this is a father-son situation here, a conversation. I don't want to overstep boundaries.
Yes. That is
but you know
100%.
What? Kids, when they don't have that figure at home, father figure, mother figure, it is like internal nature instinct to try to find it somewhere else. So he found it in sweet, sweet Sodor, which, you know what? Lucky that he found someone good to help him out.
So brace yourselves for quotage here because we're going to have so I told you that Turin was asking Sodor questions. So this is going to be kind of like their back and forth for an example of some of the questions that he's asking Turin. So Turin says, quote, "Was Lalaith indeed like an elf child, as my father said? And what did he mean when he said that she was briefer?" Deep thought, kid. Deep thought. So Sodor says, quote, "Very like, for in their first youth the children of men and elves seem close akin, but the children of men grow more swiftly, and their youth passes soon. Such is our fate."
True.
Yeah. But then Turin's like, okay, what is fate?
Such a kid response.
Such a kid. But then I can just see Sodor being like,
what's that quote? It's like from a movie where he's like talking like that, and he's like, and what is, I think it was like, was it from Peter Rabbit? And he's like, why is she so mad? Or why is he so mad? Because he thinks you're a rodent. A rodent! A rodent! What's a rodent? And then he goes, it's related to rats and squirrels. Rats and squirrels! Like, really? He just keeps talking to himself afterwards because he doesn't fully understand. Yes. That's what I think when kids do that.
Yes.
They ask a question, then I answer it, and they're like, that answer still confuses me. Like,
Yes.
please explain more. I'm like, oh, dang it.
So how do you answer a kid that says, what is fate? Well, Sator says, quote, as to the fate of men, you must ask those that are wiser than Labadal. But as all can see, we weary soon and die, and by mischance many meet death even sooner. But the elves do not weary, and they do not die save by great hurt. From wounds and griefs that would slay men, they may be healed, and even when their bodies are marred, they return again, some say. It is not so with us.
Oh.
So in other words, like, those fancy dancy elves only die when they get like seriously hurt, and then sometimes they get like a pass to come back to life, I guess. But us, we get a freaking paper cut, and we are like, we're dead.
No, I'm so young. I have so much to live for.
But then, Abby, brace your baby heart. Brace your mama heart. I can't talk. I can't. It's overwhelming how much Turin is.
Okay, so he's like little at this point, right? Okay. Like he's like 8. Little Keith. Okay.
He's 8 now.
Like my daughter's age, okay.
Oh, don't say that. This is going to make it so much worse. Quote, then Lalaith will not come back? Where has she gone? He thought she would come back? Oh. And he's basically like, so where do we go when we die? Where did she go?
Sutter at this point is probably like, this really should be a conversation with your parents. Like, no.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like, I could just be him feeling like almost crying, like, I'm not cut out for this.
Yeah. He has to turn away.
He's like, he does pretty good. He does pretty good though. He says, and he tells it to him straight. He says, quote, she will not come back, but where she has gone, no man knows, or I do not.
Oh, which isn't like very sad.
I don't know where she went. Yeah. But poor Turin, he just has no idea. Like, obviously, no one has ever had these conversations with him, and that's making me like, should I be having these conversations with Lizzie? How young is too young to learn to talk about life and death? Like,
I know my kids have been to 3 funerals already.
Oh my gosh!
And yeah,
I can't imagine Lizzie to a funeral.
And what was hard was they were still young, so like I don't know how much they understood like what was going on, but I have like pictures of tiny little like 2-year-old Luna, 2 or 3-year-old Luna with like Colt's grandma in her like hospital bed, and she's like patting her hand and like holding her hand and like talking to her. And then the next picture I have of them together is her doing that in a casket situation of that happening. So they like realize that, hey, this is the same person, but I don't, like I said, she was like 2 or 3 years old, so like I don't know how much she really understood what was happening. But yeah, it's a weird, what's a good time
no one preps you enough for that.
Do you wait until it like affects your family
happens
to explain it? Or do you like just, I don't know, the things that are not in the parenting guidebook that they
100%. Like, out of the blue, I just have to tell this quick story. And I think I've already told it on this podcast, but I don't care. I'm telling it again because it's one of my favorite Lizzie stories. Just completely out of the blue. Like, we're getting ready for bed. We're like brushing teeth or something like that. And Lizzie's like, she's probably like 5 or 6. She goes, Mom, how do you get dead?
Oh, gosh.
And so like I'm thinking about the people that I have seen die, and I'm like, well, you know, like my grandpa Pete, he was really, really sick, and you know, his body just wasn't strong enough to keep on living, so he died. But then I can see like the little like 6-year-old or 5-year-old wheels turning, and she's just kind of like, but I was sick last week and I didn't die. Like,
oh no, Lizzie.
like no.
No.
Like, different kind of sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no good answer.
Yeah. I know. And it's just, there's probably a lot of good books out there, probably good like ways how to explain it, but it's a hard conversation nonetheless. And like, I feel like did Tolkien ever lose a kid? Like, did they ever like lose a child or something like that?
He lost his mom and his dad super quick.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like
mom, like, it was a long death.
It's a hard subject to cover. It's a hard subject to cover, and it's also even sadder when he's like, this is a child talking about his little sister, like a child talking about a younger child. Right. It's like, oh no. Right.
But even it's interesting because in the Tolkien universe, you know, the elves know where they go when they die. You know, they go to the halls of Mandos and then they go to Valinor or whatever. The dwarves even had some kind of like thing with Aule, like, but the men, they're like, we don't know. Like, not a clue. Because remember, they're the forgotten stepchildren. But
no one so like
there's
said anything to them?
No.
Sad. That probably made it even worse that they like don't know and they don't have any like, I wouldn't say like faith religious wise, but like just that comfort, you know?
Yeah. And you wonder why a lot of the menfolk look so sad and depressed. They're like, this life sucks, but afterwards we don't know what's gonna happen either.
That and the lack of like personal hygiene.
Well, yeah. But poor Turin, he just has no idea. And, you know, these are valid questions but it's also kind of sad that no one, that even, I'm sure most of the men don't even know. Mm-hmm. So like referring to, you know, where people go after they die and not coming back to life, and not knowing where, you know, they go after they die. Turin says, quote, has it always been so? Or do we suffer some curse of the wicked king, perhaps like the evil breath? He was like, do we always not know? Or did like Morgoth put some kind of a curse on us so we don't know where we go, or so we don't get to live after? Like maybe we could have gone to the halls of Mandos, but Morgoth like cut that off or something. That's a question for a kid.
Yeah.
But Sodor does his best. He says, quote, I do not know. A darkness lies behind us, and out of it few tales have come. The fathers of our fathers may have had things to tell, but they did not tell them. Even their names are forgotten. The mountains stand between us and the life that they came from, flying from no man knows what. So this is kind of in reference to like way back in the Silmarillion regarding the menfolk. They didn't really have a good record-keeping system. They weren't even particularly good at storytelling either. And, you know, right when they came over the mountains, if you remember our man, Captain Balerion, Finrod, was talking to Beowulf, that one of the first men to come over. And he's like, so what you running from? And he's just kind of was like, we don't talk about it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Well,
sad.
What's your story? We don't want to talk about that either. Like it was just all hushed
Trauma.
But they didn't even really like pass it down either. So they just have this mystery about them and their backstory that just, I don't know. We just were running away from some kind of darkness. Morgoth, Sauron, maybe one of their goons or something. Just, we don't want to go back there. We came over here. But what's interesting is Turin says, quote, were they afraid? Like, yeah.
Yes.
So Sodor says, it may be that we fled from the fear of the dark, only to find it here before us, and nowhere else to fly to but the sea. Yeah, like they fled from the dark,
So
and then, yeah. Oh, the very source of that darkness. Oh, that's on this side of the mountains. Darn it, we should have gone the other way. Like,
dang it.
dang. But then Turin's older than his years brain strikes once again. And he says, quote, "We are not afraid any longer. Not all of us. My father is not afraid, and I will not be. Or, at least, as my mother, I will be afraid and not show it." Like, is this kid 8 or 80? Like, what the heck?
Oh.
Like, to know that about your own parents, like, wow. But Sodor also is thinking the same thing. He says, quote, "It seemed then to Sodor that Turin's eyes were not like the eyes of a child. And he thought, grief is a hone to a hard mind." So he's like, he had to grow up fast because his sister died. And he was forced to, grow up fast.
Carry big feelings.
Yeah. But aloud, he said, quote, "How it will be with your heart, Labadal cannot guess. But seldom and to few will you show what is in it."
Oh.
That is very Turin. Like, if you think later in his life, like, yep, that's Turin. He just seldom and to few he showed what was in his heart.
Mm-hmm.
But then Turin responds, quote, "Perhaps it is better not to tell what you wish if you cannot have it. But I wish that I were one of the Eldar."
Like an elf?
Mm-hmm. He wants to. But before I finish this quote, brace yourself, Abby, because it's not for what. Again, I know, so much bracing. You think you'd want to be an elf so you could live long, or so you could, have the strength or the healing or something. Oh no, it is for a completely different reason that ultimately breaks your heart.
Oh no.
So Turin wants to be an elf. Quote, "Then Lalaith might come back, and I should be here, even if she were long away."
And then poor Sodor is probably like, "That's not how it works." Like,
yes. Uh-huh. But since Turin knows he can't just wish himself into an elf, he says this instead. He says, quote, "I shall go as a soldier with an elf king as soon as I am able, as you did, Labadal." Interesting that he says like Labadal, not like his father, perhaps, or anyone else that he knows? His grandfather?
Because Labadal is more of a father to him than his own dad. He's not a stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up. The dad who hopped up on one foot. On one foot.
We need to make a meme of that immediately. Well, Sodor says about Turin wanting to join the Eldar army, basically, says, quote, "You may learn much of them. They are fair folk and wonderful, and they have a power over the hearts of men. And yet, I think sometimes that it might have been better if we had never met them, but had walked in lowlier ways. For already they are ancient in knowledge, and they are proud and enduring. In their light we are dimmed, or we burn with too quick a flame, and the weight of our doom lies the heavier on us."
That's heavy. That is heavy. That's a heavy thing to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's true. Every man that has teamed up with elves just, yeah. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
But Turin, he gets a little defensive and he says, quote, "But my father loves them and he is not happy without them. He says that we have learned nearly all that we know from them and have been made a nobler people. And he says that the men that have lately come over the mountains are hardly better than orcs." Like, this is the most kid-like that he ever has sounded out of all these conversations. But my daddy says.
Yes. He's still a little kid.
Yeah. But what a sad thing for a child to say about his father, that, like, he's not happy unless he can hang out with his elf friends.
Oh, gosh. Dad likes hanging out with his elf friends more than he likes hanging out with me.
But it's true.
I know.
Another absentee father. Step aside, Arendil.
Yeah.
So these men that are, just coming over the mountains, though, that's like referring to the Easterlings, and knowing that what we know about the Easterling men who joined up with Maedhros for the Battle of a Number of Tears that later betrayed him, them being, not that much better than orcs doesn't sound too far off.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So Sauter says, quote, "That is true. True at least for some of us. But the up climbing is painful, and from high places, it is easy to fall low."
This Sador's got some quotes, man.
I know!
He's one, I'm surprised they left him out of the Silmarillion. Maybe he wanted his own, like, Sador gets his own thing. Like, but
like, yeah, I love this character. And he's just, I think he's one of those guys that is like, I've been alone with my thoughts and I like to share them with someone. And if it be this 8-year-old kid, so be it.
yeah. Yeah. And he's got to instill his wisdom somewhere,
Right? And sadly, the events in the Silmarillion only prove that more true, that from high places, it is easy to fall low. Like, think of the Numenorians when they started getting all high and mighty.
Fëanor.
Yeah. But he's talking mainly about men here.
Yeah.
Isildur.
Oh, no. No.
Isildur!
Cast it into the fire!
No. So, actually, that's where I'm going to leave you.
Oh, no. I'm going to go hug my babies.
Go hug your babies.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Do your shtick about promoting us and stuff.
Okay, you get it together while I do it. So thank you for joining us on this whimsical journey through Middle Earth. Dive deeper into our world of the Sisters of the Shire podcast by following us on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast. There you'll uncover a treasure trove of posts, amazing cool art, delightful and whimsical memes that we try and make them corresponding with our current episodes, but there's just some that I'm like, and this is funny too. So we try to give credit where we can. Please feel free to share with us and comment or say hi. We're friendly, we promise. And hey, make sure you keep it nice on there, guys. Okay?
Be nice, everyone. Be nice.
A heartfelt thank you to our cherished patrons, Dan, our dwarf friend of the Shire, and Chrishane and Tom, our elf friends of the Shire. Your support means the world to us, that you keep on giving your heart and soul to us every month.
You love us. You really love us.
Yes. And if you want to join our fellowship of the podcast, join us at patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire Podcast. There are 3 tiers. $3 a month, you'll be an elf friend of the Shire. $7 a month, a dwarf friend of the Shire. And for $9 a month, you can be a men or women friends of the Shire. Man or woman friends. And as a token of our gratitude, we might even serenade you with a song. Maybe we will have Oakley sing it this time.
Or Luna. Luna's my makeup song girl.
There we go. Lastly, if our adventures have, just made you smile a little bit, please take a moment to leave us a rating or a review on your preferred podcast platform. You spreading that love helps other people find us as well. So please share the love. Share
word of mouth. Yes. Word of mouth is also great as well. Posting it on your Instagram stories.
Yes.
Sharing it that way is awesome. We really appreciate it.
I've gotten I have to restrain myself. If I see anyone wearing anything like Tolkien, I'm like, hey, have you heard of my podcast?
It reminds me of that commercial. Do you remember that commercial for what was it for? That was it for insurance or something? And it was like they were in a it was a guy teaching adults not to be like their
Oh,
older
yes.
parents. And
Yes.
they're in the like hardware store and that girl walks by with like blue hair and he's like, "No, you
Yes.
don't have to say it.
Yes.
You don't have to say it." And he's like, "Blue." Blue hair. She has blue hair.
We
So,
all see it. We all see
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I love that.
It reminds me of when, yeah, I'm the same way. If someone has anything Tolkien, I'm like, do you know that? Like, hey, have you heard? So I'm the same way.
Yeah. But you know what? It's nothing to be ashamed of.
It's true.
Tolkien would never be ashamed.
Yes.
We actually did get a new rating on Spotify. Very happy.
Yay!
Yay! And we are up to 15,000 plays, y'all.
15,000. That's crazy.
Yes. I know. And someone in Singapore was on a listening binge because they went from 31st, or as Lizzie says, 31st, to 28th. So,
whoa.
I hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast, Singapore listener, you. And I hope that you enjoy and has spread news to your other Singapore friends.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for teaching me today and also breaking my heart.
You're welcome. I'm just going to keep on doing it because this is the Children of Hurin, people, and it's only going to get worse.
Oh, no.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. Until next week, I've been Ashley.
And I've been Abby, and this has been the Sisters of the Shire podcast. We are so happy you joined us today, and we hope you can join us next time. Bye!
Bye!
Thank you for teaching me a day.
Yay!